Welcome and everybody to the Tony Cutillo Show right here live. It's Tuesday night, not Monday night, but sometimes we have to make pivots because that's what we do because life is lifing, right? Life is life. And don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell if you so choose so you can get in with those 400 to 500 subscribers. We're trying to push to 1,000 right now, trying to get to 1,000 and pretty proud of that in 2.5 months. I'm very happy for all 434 subscribers because we have a fantastic conversation on a daily basis. As always, you catch us on X, you can catch us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you follow content. Go check out the Tony Cutillo Show. And if you are a huge U Sports fan, go check out the Fighting for Overtime podcast, gearing up for season 2, produced by, as always, Rise and React Media, just like we are produced right here by Rise and React Media, where we talk all things U Sports, anxiety, and achievements. But we are only a week or so away from the real start of Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball, Phillies baseball, right? Obviously, we're going to talk a little Phillies. We're going to talk about, how they're being slept on, in my opinion. You see the title, Don't Sleep on the Phillies to Win the World Series. Shout out to Steve Phillips today on Sirius Satellite Radio, who picked the Phillies to win the World Series. Let me just tell you something about these Phillies, man. Everybody is sleeping on this team right now because of the way the last few years ended up. Okay. And listen, you look it back at when they hit the hot team, the best team in baseball, which was the Houston Astros. They didn't belong in that series and they got there, right? Remember that. That was not planned out. Okay. So they got beat by the better team. The Arizona year in 2023 is when they should have won. Okay. When they lost game 6 and 7, that's the one that hurts. That's the one that's going to sting for a very long time. Last year, unfortunately, they hit the hot team in the New York Mets. But listen, here's what we have to look at going forward to this year. Now, I think personally they're going to win 93 to 94 games. They might even push 95, in my opinion. And, one thing's for certain, pitching wins championships. Simple. Starting pitcher was great last year. The bullpen was, it wasn't as good. I think the bullpen gets a tremendous upgrade this year. I think the starting pitching, and I want to talk about that right now. If you want to get involved, drop a comment, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on X, wherever you're at. How you feeling about the Phillies this year? Am I crazy to say that I feel like they could still win the World Series? Because I really do. I look at this lineup, I look at this pitching, I look at this bullpen, and I'm smiles, man. I am smiles all over. I am smiles all over. My man Foods checking in. What's up, Foods? 9 days till opener. Absolutely. How you feeling, Foods? What are you feeling about the Philadelphia Phillies? How you feeling about this team, man? Like, talk to me because, I look at a lot of things going into this year. A lot of people are talking about age. A lot of people are talking about we're on the decline. A lot of people are talking about, I heard on the radio talk about this all hinders on Trey Turner, which I think is absurd. Okay, I do. I think that's absurd to say that this has to go around Trey Turner. I'm going to tell you something right now, man. The Phillies are going to win by dominant pitching, and they're also going to win by clutch hitting, in my opinion. And I know everybody's going to say, oh, they got caught. Listen, before we even talk about that, we have the most clutch pitcher, or I should say the most clutch hitter in playoff history, in my opinion, in Bryce Harper. Okay, this town has ever seen. Okay, we've been to these playoffs. We've seen it. This dude is hitting like 438 in the postseason. Ridiculous. Okay, absolutely ridiculous. But for my money, every year you have to have that one defining guy. And everybody's talking about it's got to be Trey. It's got to be this guy. It's got to be that guy. For me, personally, Kyle Schwarber is going to have. I mean, listen, it's hard to replicate what he did last year because last year he was Again, we wanted him to raise his average. He did. We wanted him to hit more. He did, right? But it just didn't work out. And I think that the projected lineup, if they've had to clean up, which I hope they stick to, I think that's just going to elevate him to another level. And also remember, this is a contract year for Kyle Schwarber. Let's remember that. It's a contract year for Kyle Schwarber. Now, I know they're already talking about extensions. I get it. But what I'm saying is it's a contract year for Kyle Schwarber. Kyle Schwarber, to me, is the most important player to this team. And the reason why I say that, yes, I get it. Bryce Harper, I understood. Okay, but let's just take it for what it is right now. We know what to expect from Bryce Harper. We know what he's going to give us. We already know what he's capable of. I'll be honest with you, man. I know what Kyle's capable of, but I don't know if I know what he's capable of out of the cleanup spot. Like, I think there's a whole nother level of Kyle Schwarber in a cleanup spot. I do. And I think that's what's got me the most excited about the Philadelphia Phillies this year, besides the pitching. Food says, I believe the starting pitching is top 2 or 3 in the league. I think it is top. I think this starting pitching is number 1 without a doubt. Number 1 without a doubt. I 100%. I think it is 100% without a doubt the best starting rotation in baseball. And we haven't even brought up our youngster yet. We haven't even brought up our youngster yet in Mr. Painter. So I'm looking at this, and I want to get in this, and I want to break down this starting pitching for a minute. Now, I know I am going to give you, like only I can, I'm going to give you my, I don't like to call them hot takes, but my gut prediction for what I see from the pitching staff on one guy named Christopher Sanchez. I'm telling you right now, I am locking in a Christopher Sanchez Cy Young ticket. I'm locking it in. And I know you might think I'm nuts, and I know you might think I'm overblown. Listen, this kid has continued to grow year in and year out. He's been put in pressure situations and has shown he don't budge. Every year, he's giving you 2 to 3 more miles an hour of velocity on his fastball. This year, up to 97 and 98 consistently. As well as having, again, as well as having Cole Hamels to show him how to even dominate more with the changeup. Did you see Christopher Sanchez? He has been lights out in the spring season. They start lights out. Dude, if you're throwing 97 and 98 and you can have a killer changeup, you are unhittable. Cole Hamels, 2008 MVP season. Nobody saw him coming. That changeup was electric. And the reason why that changeup was so good, because he was hitting 97, 98, 99. He was hitting every single part of the plate. He was hitting every single corner of the plate. Okay? Every single corner, he was hitting it. Christopher Sanchez is not being talked about. Christopher Sanchez is not being talked about enough when it comes to being an anchor of this staff, because the rest of the guys are that much, or I was going to say that much better. They're not that much better. These guys are just as good. Think about it. Zach Wheeler, who, oh man, like the guy is Cy Young every year. Could go down best pitcher that we've ever had in this town since Steve Carlin. Like, honestly, I mean, listen, no disrespect against Doc Holliday, no disrespect against Cole Hamels, no disrespect, man. But even if you want to say no disrespect to Kurt Schilling, but I'm going to tell you something right now. Zach Wheeler, I mean, the guy is the epitome of what you want as a clubhouse leader. He's the epitome of what you want on your team, on an ace of a staff. He is the guy that you want to pay the money to. He is the guy that goes in and just does his business, doesn't get caught up in all the adversity, doesn't give you these long agitated answers, man. He's just going about his business. And the thing about Zach Wheeler that I love is he continues to learn every single day, man. That's what's crazy. I got some comments here. Mike says, I believe pitching is top 2 or 3 in the league. I'll go 92 wins. Yeah, I'm definitely, the over was 91.5. It was at plus money. I took it 2 weeks ago. So they're actually still right now, they're 12-1 to win the World Series. 12-1 to win the World Series. So my girl Sonia checking in. What's up, Sonia? Thank you so much. She's checking in. Primed and Proper Sports. Go check her out as well. She was gracious enough to have me a guest on her show, so I greatly appreciate it. All things football from a lady's perspective. I love it, man. You gotta love that title, man. I love that. Good evening. Good evening to you as well. Foods wants to know, what's your starting rotation in order? Now, I'm going to be a little different, Foods, than what some people are projecting as far as the rotation. Zach Wheeler to me is 100% number one. Okay. For me, for my money, I'm going to go Christopher Sanchez at number 2. Aaron Nola, I'm going to go 3. I am going to go Ranger Suarez at 4, and I'm going to go Jesus Luzardo at 5. Now, I understand Luzardo could be just as good as anybody in that lineup. But here's the thing, man. These other 4 guys have brought it for the last 2 to 3 years. It's their rotation. I don't care how good Luzardo is. I say, listen, earn it. Simple. Came off a bad injury, right? You're coming back. You look good. I think this guy could be electric. Some people, listen, he's either going to be a big bust or he's going to be a hell of a gem that we traded for in the offseason. Very simple. But I keep him at number 5, Foods. That's just me. Again, you got a bunch of lefties in there, 3 lefties, 2 righties. I know you're going to split them up. Some people may say we should be giving the Ranger the nod at number 2, but I think Sanchez owned it, man. Like I do. I think Sanchez has owned it, and there's a little business in this too. Honestly, like when you think about this, Ranger Suarez is up for a contract, right? So, if you could kind of put him down in a rotation a little bit, listen, it could ding him a bit and maybe give him more of an opportunity. I know it's a long shot, it's crazy, but you just never know how the business minds will work. So I definitely would go Wheeler number 1. Again, I go Sanchez number 2, Nola number 3, obviously, and then I go Ranger and then Luzardo. That's where I'm going, man, because I do think he's going to bring it, but I think he has to earn it 100%. My man JW checking in. Hopefully Sanchez stays in the shadows, could make him even better. No pressure on him if the media doesn't pick up on him, man. Like here's the thing about Sanchez, which gets me so excited. And again, this is the Tony Cutillo Show here live on YouTube, on X, on Facebook. If you're anywhere else, man, I appreciate it. If you would get over to YouTube and like and subscribe, it'd be greatly, greatly appreciated. Getting that community growing. I appreciate everybody checking in. Everybody, whether you're on X or Facebook, doesn't matter. Just in your spare time, get over to that YouTube page and check it out, man. We got some more things coming and cooking down the line, trying to bring this. I'll be honest with you. I'm trying to find a scenario to where I want to do a show every night, but I don't want to do video, man. Like for real. Like I just want to stream, just like a radio station. Like because listen, let's be honest, man. Video is a lot of work. It took me an hour to set this show up. It's going to take me an hour of post production. Not that I mind it because I love it, but it'd be nice to just hop on a mic and just talk, man. But I've tried it before on YouTube. We kind of just had an image when people didn't really realize what was going on. So I'm looking into that. We're trying to figure that out. So if I can figure that out, we'll be going live. I'll give you something to listen to every night. I promise you that. Because I like to bring the heat as much as I can. But J-Dub, yeah, listen, Sanchez, as long I don't think anybody will get to him, man. He has shown me he's been rock solid. It's like Ranger, man. Ranger's rock solid. I think Sanchez rock solid too. I think this kid just wants to continue to prove that he belong. That I just got tongue tied. I think he wants to continue to prove that he belongs. It's very simple. We know he belongs. It's a very prideful kid. And, he really likes being in these situations. He really likes this team. These players really like him. They gravitate towards this guy, man. And when you can considerably move up your fastball, he started at 92, 93 his first year, went up to about, 94, 95, and now he's clocking 97, 98. That's tremendous. That's tremendous. And he's got a filthy changeup that's just been enhanced by the future, in my opinion, Hall of Famer Cole Hamill. So I love everything about this kid. I am putting a Cy Young Ticket Award bet in DraftKings for him tonight. I do think that he has every ability to win the Cy Young Award this year. I'm telling you, I think he's going to be that good. I do. I think he's going to be that good. Food says, I believe Jesus Luzardo is going to bring it. Javon says Luzardo as a fifth starter is a great luxury to have. And then when Painter comes up, could be the best rotation of baseball. Exactly. I mean, listen, people forget how filthy Jesus Luzardo was. And you can't get caught up in the wins. He played for two terrible teams in Oakland and Miami. Okay. You can't get caught up in the wins because you have zero run support. Very, very simple. What you have to do is you have to look at the ERA numbers. Okay. You have to look at the strikeout numbers, specifically 2022 and 2023 with Miami. The guy was filthy, man. The guy was filthy. If you watch him, the movement on his pitches, the speed of his pitches, just listen, 3.32, 3.58, respectively, both years, 120, 208 strikeouts. Listen, 2023 is where you saw it, man. 20 games, he had 208 strikeouts. Okay. Again, 32 games started. He was 10-10, 32 games started in 178 innings pitched. Okay, he had 208 strikeouts, held opponents at batting at 239. Now, even in his last year, where his ERA was 5, when he got hurt, opponents were still only batting 246. 2022, they were batting 198. Again, this dude is filthy. Okay, he is filthy when he is right. He is filthy when he is right. Now, I'm going to show you, man. I'm going to show you this guy because, let's watch a little Jesus Luzardo. Okay, let's watch a little Jesus Luzardo, and you tell me what you guys think. Let me share this screen a little bit, and I want to show you, man, because again, this guy is that good, man. This guy is that good. All right, now you watch this guy. Watch somebody.
The lefty making his 17th start of the season.
Again, now you're going to see a little bit of everything, man. When now you're playing the Boston Red Sox. This isn't a pushover, man. Right? You see that low and outside pitch that just look at that pitch. Look at that dive down. Who's hitting that pitch? As a dude still throwing 94, 95, 96, 97. Look at that. Look at that slider. Nobody's hitting that. On the left-hand side, this dude is filthy. Filthy. Look at that. And man, like if you just watch this guy, and like again, people forget again how good he really was. You want to go up in the kitchen, hits you 98 right across the letters, boom, swing right through it. Look at that, swing right through it. Late, right? Late. Luzardo has every opportunity to be electric, and it will be scary right now if this guy gets his command back, if this guy gets his velo back, if this guy gets his presence back. I mean, you think about, look at that right there. Look at that NL rank right there. That again, this is 2023, man. For before he got hurt in 24. It's 2023. I mean, he was look at it. He's going up against, but he's just killing those Red Sox, bro. Killing them. So again, bringing it back to the forefront again. This is a guy that has every opportunity to be electric, and I think that's why I'm super excited. About the Phillies when it comes to a pitching staff. But I want to talk about the bullpen a little bit because I think we all know what we're getting out of the starters. I think we all know that. Health obviously being number one, and I think that's the most important thing. Health always is going to be number one, right? You see what happened with Ranger last year. Ranger starts out, he's the best pitcher in baseball for 2 months, and boom, gets injured. Never was the same, man. And we know that. And we know that happens. But one of the most underrated moves to me of the entire Phillies offseason was to bring in Jordan Romano. Now, Jordan Romano was the closer for the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, I say a lot when we talk, whether it be especially basketball. When we talk basketball, I say a lot. Sometimes we don't get to see a full tape on these guys, and that's specifically because a lot of these guys play in different time zones. They play on teams that we don't really watch, right? Games aren't televised, right? Let's face it. Nobody was really kicking down the doors to go watch Toronto Blue Jays games. But the thing is about Romano is right now you got a guy on a prove it deal. He's 31 years old in his prime. Pitcher, okay? Closer in his prime. Okay? So right now they're telling you he's still building up his velocity. He's had 6 innings so far and 8 strikeouts in the spring. He's a 2-time All-Star. Let's remember that. 2-time All-Star. Last year, again, he had elbow issues. He had arthroscopic surgery. Okay. 6.59 ERA. It's all everybody's talking about. Career worst. 15 appearances were the fewest of in his game since being a top reliever. And again, from 2021 to 2023, he was in 2 All-Star games, 95 saves, and 184 appearances, 230 strikeouts, to 70 walks, over 186 innings. Okay, 2.37 and a 1.78 ERA in those 2 years. That's how dominant he was. That's how dominant he was. I think he's a gem. And those numbers, shout out to Philly Sports Network for their article on their site right there. That's where I got them from. I was looking up his stats. I wanted to get them. So shout out to Corey Nito from the Philly Sports Network for that article and giving us those stats. And listen, the biggest thing was who was going to be our closer. That's what we talked about. We continue to talk about it. Do we have that closer? Are we comfortable with who we have? Are we going to be able to give it to Alvarado? Is it going to be Schramm? Is it going to be is it going to be Kirkering? Is it going to be an open door policy, right? And then we make the trade, and the trade really didn't. Again, Estevez, it didn't work out the way I thought it was going to be. I don't think he was as dominant as he was perceived to be. Romano, to me, is that guy. I think he's their Jeff Hoffman this year. I do. I think it's crazy. I think Jordan Romano is the Phillies' Jeff Hoffman this year. That's how good I think this cat can be. And you have a driven Jose Alvarado that looks about 10 pounds leaner this year, is firing a 101 mile an hour sinker. 101 mile an hour sinker. I still think the world of Ron Kirkering. I think Kirkering is the future closer of this team. I do. I think he needs another year or two of experience, and I think he has that stuff. It's confidence with him, right? It's confidence with him. Then you got Matt Schramm, right? Who's going to start on the injury list. No big deal. I'm not really worried about that. Very, very crafty lefty veteran, can kind of do it all. Listen, that back end of the bullpen with those 4 guys is legit. It is. It's legit. And I don't think, people are saying that they're worried. I'm not worried about the bullpen. I'm not worried about the lineup. I'm not worried about the lineup. Tommy says World Series are bust. Lot of expiring contracts after this season. I don't think it's World Series or bust, to be honest with you. But I do think, looking at everything as a whole, that I think they have a 2-year window left, man. And I think they got 2 years. And I think this is the year, if they do change the lineup around as predicted, right? If they do that and they make some moves, if Max Kepler turns out to be the guy I think he can be, and that some people think he can be, again, you know, you hear about these guys through news articles and highlights. I hear about a lot of these guys from the sports betting world because I'm studying these guys as far as statistics. And I can tell you what, man, Max Kepler, he is a true hitter, man. He's got some pop, and you saw it. I know he left the game the other day with some bruise. I hope he okay, but he has been a red hot hitter in spring training. He's got something to prove too, man. Like, there's one good thing about in baseball. The good thing about baseball is, guys really go out and go full bore for these 1 year deals. They really do, man. They really do. And I think getting these guys on these 1 year prove it deals, like Kepler, like Romano, who still have an opportunity to cash in for a 3 or 4 year contract that they've seen other guys get, it can only be helpful. Number one, for their motivation, and number two, to come to a winner like this in Philadelphia and to be able to catapult their value up to the next level. I think it's huge, and I think it's a pretty important role, as a general manager like Dombro is. Dombro's a professional. I know a lot of people down Dombro. I'm not. I'm really not, man. Like, Dombro wants to win just like anybody else. I don't care what anybody says. Dombro's won everywhere he's gone. Right? He's won everywhere he's gone. You can't fault Dombro for the Arizona Diamondbacks series. You can't. I think Dombrowski is pissed himself. That was the year he built the team to win. That year, that was the year they were in position to do it, and they blew it. Okay, very simple. Last year they caught the hot team. They caught the hot team, just like we were the hot team when we went to Houston, in the World Series. We were the hot team, right? So Dombro's done his job. And let's not forget, man. Everybody thinks it's like unlimited checkbook, unlimited, and I get it. It's not your money, blah, 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 blah. I've heard it all before. You hear all the cars on the radio. I don't care. It's not my money. Yeah, but you still have to play within the parameters, of what the owner wants to dish out. Does he want to pay the high premium luxury tax? I don't think he does. I don't, because here's the thing. You're paying so many players. Eventually, you have to go these 1 year deals. And eventually, when you got a couple guys like Crawford and Miller that come up from an offensive side, that listen, I don't want to hamstring myself to these 3, 4, $500 million deals. I understand it. I think they're really spooked what happened with Trey Turner. Like, Trey Turner is not as advertised. And I think, again, that spooked them. They still win despite Trey Turner. Yes. But my thing is, they thought they were getting an elite superstar, and he's not a superstar anymore. He's not going to carry the team. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to continue to say it. And you can tell me I'm wrong. You can tell me I shouldn't be sparking off the stereotypes. But the dude don't care. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think he really cares that much. Like, I think he got his bag. I think he says, I'm Trey Turner. I'm good. I'm as good as I'm going to be. I'm going to go on my 2 to 3 streaks, right? I'm going to emboss my numbers. And looking at it for the value of the contract, I got what I got. I don't think it really matters to him, man. I don't, maybe, listen, and again, if that gets back to Trey, which it won't, because I'm a nobody, but if somebody were to say, just by the way he looks, listen, his body language to me just says it all. I just look at this guy and just say, he's all right. Like, he's okay. Like, he's an okay guy. I used to call people the okay guy. I think Trey is the okay guy. Are we going to win that? It's okay. Did we lose? It's okay. There's a big difference between Nick Castellanos and Bryce Harper, and and Bryson Stott, and that passion you see, whether it's positive or negative perceived, in Alec Boehm in regards to Trey Turner. Okay. So I just don't think this guy has the drive anymore. I think he's banking on what he's done in the past, and he's banking on what he knows he can do. And I think in his mind, he's like, if I do it, I do it. If I don't, I don't. I really do, man. I really do. It's crazy. I hope I'm wrong. My man JD checking in says 98 wins and Harper MVP. Um, I listen. I love Bryce. I do, and I think that MVP is huge. And I want to go out on a limb here, JD. 98 wins is big. That is big, man. That's ballsy. 98 wins. I'm going 94, 95. But yeah, this is again. I'm all about stretch predictions tonight, right? Um, my dark horse. I like dark horses, man, because everybody's going to say Bryce Harper MVP, Zach Wheeler, Cy Young, right? I think everybody's kind of like on that wagon. I'm going to go dark horse wagon. I've already said Christopher Sanchez makes a run at Cy Young. I think Kyle Schwarber makes a run at MVP. I think Kyle Schwarber makes a run for MVP. Let me tell you why I think this. I do. I want to explain my rationale when it comes to Kyle Schwarber. I said a couple years ago, and I stand by it, that as much as I love Bryce, I think Kyle Schwarber is the undoubtedly the leader of that team. He is the leader of that team. And I think he's the guy that can keep everybody calm. I think he's the guy, obviously, he's been there. He's won. He's a winner. He's been through adversity. He's been through injury. Grows up in a blue collar household. Everything about him, he doesn't take for granted. And I'm not saying Harp does. That has nothing to do with this. I just think that the one thing about Bryce is sometimes Bryce can be his worst enemy, right? His conviction and his passion can honestly hurt him at times, but I'll take it any day of the week. You don't have that issue with Kyle Schwarber. And if Kyle Schwarber is going to live in that 4 spot with this lineup, with these guys ahead of him, I'm going to tell you, man, I do. I think, you're talking, a 40 home run, 120 RBI year, and he could bat anywhere near 260, 270, man. Like, I'm telling you could definitely see him, in my opinion, as a really dark horse to get in that MVP race. I am two guys. I should say 3 guys. I will say my big 3. My big 3 for me that I'm in on this year. Now, again, obvious, right? All the obvious, Zach Wheeler. I get all that. That's obvious, right? Who's never going to be on Zach Wheeler? Who's never going to be in on Bryce Harper? For me, I'm all in on 3 guys this year. I think it's going to change everything. And that's Christopher Sanchez. That's going to be Kyle Schwarber. And that's going to be, we just talked about, Jordan Romano. I think Romano in a bullpen, Schwarber in a cleanup spot, as long as they stick to it, and Sanchez as a really, really competitive and next level pitcher that is going to battle for Cy Young credibility. I do. I think the sky's the limit. Now, Tommy says sky's the limit for this rotation and bullpen. We got to be disciplined at the plate. Big year ahead for Stott. Yeah, listen, the young boys, the day camp, right? Or the daycare, whatever the hell they call them, right? Bryson Stott, bad injury on the elbow last year, was dealing with that all year. Obviously, we saw it. I mean, come on, this kid is a professional hitter. We saw he didn't miss a beat, in his first playoffs, and he was the best 2-strike hitter in baseball. Last year was just one of those aberrations, man. It was one of those years where he just was hurt and he gutted it out, but he was hurt and it was affecting him. So yes, Tommy, I love Bryson Stott. Obviously, it's my daughter's favorite player. But I love the way that he can fight off pitches. I think he's an above average defender, which is fantastic for this team. And I think he has that passion. He has that Philly emotion, that raw emotion that I think you need on this team. Now, another guy we haven't talked about is Alec Bohm. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how much spring training people have watched, but Alec Boehm is hitting the cover off the ball in spring training. And I know, I've been on this bone wagon before, and I know I've talked about him being this tremendous power hitter and thinking it's going to take that next step. But Alec Boehm has a chip on his shoulder. And what happened last year and what happened in the offseason could have been the best thing ever for Alec Boehm. Now, first, right off the bat, I'm a person who keeps my own receipts. And I did say that the way everything played out, Alec Boehm mentally, if he was not, and I said if he was not mentally strong enough to get through the whole benching, then it's going to be a problem for him coming back this year, knowing he was in trade talks. Well, looking at what I've seen from far away, now my man Tommy checking in says, and this is great insight. This is why I love doing the Tony Cutillo show here. He says, I was there in Clearwater 2 weeks ago. Boehm looks like he's on a mission and he's got a swagger to him. And Tommy, that's the swagger that I love. That's the swagger that I love. I mean, listen, if Aaron Dolan on my shoulder, I'd probably have a little swagger going on as well, right? I mean, my man's hitting it from all angles with that, man. Good for him. But here's what I will say with his size and his power is, you look at Casty and you look at such a free swinger he is, but the amount of power that he can generate on that one swing. And Alec Boehm even has a bigger stretch, a bigger reach. And he's younger and has more potential. And, this whole adversity that built up through last year, remember he had the hand bone injury, right? That again is something that you don't get operated on. It's going to heal on its own, but he did have a problem gripping a bat. I mean, he was horrendous down the stretch. Horrendous. Right. I think it was like 1 for 40 or something. Just nuts. And a lot of that, anger and immaturity, a lot of it, though, can be tossed up to conviction and pride. I've coached for many years, man. And, knowing that, sometimes your players that are really bought in, sometimes, they go through an adverse situation and it's tough for them, man. It's tough for them. So, yeah, I love Alec Boehm this year. Just knowing that, okay, it was like, let's wait, see how he comes back. Like Tommy says, man, he looks like he's on a mission. He's got that swagger back. He's got that Vince McMahon strut back, man. Like, you know what? I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show. And you know what? He may never. Here's the best part about this, right? Here's the best part about this whole situation. He may decide. He may decide to say, you know what? I'm not going to resign in Philadelphia. Maybe he holds a grudge, but you know what? It doesn't matter. You know why it doesn't matter? Because we still get the benefits of that chip. We get the benefits of that spinoff, right? So again, I really, really, really think that he could be a key cog in this lineup this year, showing already that great attitude that he has. Jimmy checking in. I missed this one. Jimmy says, outside of Philly or LA, meaning the Dodgers, you see anyone else in the NL that could be a surprise and be in the NLCS? I have a secret dark horse, man. Like, oh man, like honestly, there's a couple teams that I like, Jimmy. When I go on, I do my Veasan hits. We've been talking a lot. We've been talking a lot about different divisions, and we've been talking a lot about who are these surprise teams. Okay, and I'm going to tell you, man, if I could see anybody in the National League, there's two teams that I absolutely love. I love the Cincinnati Reds. Now I get it. 77 win team last year. I understand it. Okay. I understand. I know you're going to like that, Jimmy, because you are a Cincinnati guy. You're an Ohio guy. The reason why I like Cincinnati, and again, you can watch it. I won't do the whole thing. It's under the MLB futures. I did a quick 2 minute, 3 minute hit on why I like him. Number one, I love the manager. I love Tito Francona, man. I love Terry Francona. Tito coming to that team and giving them a figure of culture driven wins, and a structure of a team that is confident in their abilities and doesn't play up to the, I would say, maybe like the trends. You know, you got Ellie De La Cruz, who could be on that next level, but just stay grounded, right? That's what Tito Francona does. Um, and I love that them in the Central. Again, I mean, they could win that division easily. I'm not big on Milwaukee. I'm not big on Chicago. So I like Cincinnati a lot. And how do you not like the Arizona Diamondbacks, man? Like, how do you not like the Diamondbacks to go out there get Corbin Burns? I mean, this is a team that 90 plus wins. This is a team that, if it wasn't for the new system, they would have been in. This is a team that is in one of the hardest divisions of baseball in the NL West, but I like them a lot. I do. I like them a lot. I think they have a lot. A lot. Yes, if the pitching holds up, I'd say my Reds. Jimmy, I completely agree, man. You know, you have, listen, as long as the Dolo comes back healthy, he's back. If he could stay healthy, you got Hunter Green, who another year of Hunter Green, Brady Singer, very underrated signing. Very underrated signing comes over for Kansas City. So I like the Reds and I like the D-backs, man. My man Tommy checking in says, do you personally believe the lineup is an issue, or do you think it's Philly radio trying to stir something up? Tommy, Philly radio always tries to stir something up. Let's be honest. I mean, that's their job. I personally can't stand it. I can't. I've talked about that before on this show, and it's the reason why I do what you see right here. You know, nobody reaches out to Jigsaw. Nobody wants Tony on Philly radio because I'm not a yes guy, right? And I'm not there to drum up a bunch of shit and hope that it sticks. Like, everything that happened today, I'll give you a perfect example, and I will answer your question legitimately. But I turn on the radio today, and again, I'll turn it on because I like to get a kick out of it. I listen to a few people on the radio, and that's about it. Tom Kelly's really grown on me. I think he's been very, very good. I was a John Johnson fan back in the day, and I think Tom Kelly's taken that and running with it on WIP. I love Hunter Brody. Hunter is another guy who has the passion of a guy like myself in Jigsaw, and continues to really perfect his craft. So I do listen to him. I'll always be a Robbie E guy. Rob Ellis is my man. I love listening to Rob. I mean, look, here's the thing about Philly radio. You had a guy today in Brandon Graham who goes and retires, and what a great day for Philadelphia. He said a lot of great things about a lot of great people. He really kept the fans in perspective and basically gave the middle finger to all the media members that say Philly's a terrible city when it comes to sports fans and fandom, and they have no idea the kind of relationships we have with our players. But what I will say is, you turn on the radio, instead of talking about how great Brandon Graham is, I actually, and I'm not going to say what station it was, but I'm actually listening to people trying to drum up an argument because on social media, you have a bunch of idiots in there talking about how Jason Kelsey wasn't at the speech, and maybe, they don't like each other. Maybe they've never liked each other. Like, are you kidding me? That's what we're talking about. And you mean to tell me you're really like, and again, I understand. I understand that you saw it on social media, but does that mean that you have to make it a show topic? Does that mean you really have to? No, you don't. But you do it because you want people to call in. You want clicks. So I can't listen to that garbage, man. I can't listen to when they talk real stuff, sure, but those garbage topics, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I really can't do it. And and I'll continue to always be a Mikey Miss guy. I listen to Mikey Miss. I think him and Bill Colarulo are fantastic. I think Andrew DeCecco is really growing into his own, man. He's going to be, again, he's going to be a master gem when it comes to breaking down games, which is great, man. He's really good to listen to. But no, Tommy, I think this lineup is fine, man. I will tell you though that I do think Edmundo Sosa could be the secret to this lineup because if Sosa proves that he can play a serviceable center field, listen, that's going to make it easier on them when it comes to making decisions based on, again, guys like, and Brandon Marsh and Mr. Rojas, because now you can have Christian Arroyo, who's really played well in the spring and can play multiple positions as a bench spot. If you can have Sosa as, playing a serviceable center field. And again, you like his bat and lineup. So I think the lineup, they make way too much out of this lineup. For me, this is the way I would look at the lineup, Tommy. And this, I think, is the lineup that again is going to bang. Okay, most bang for your buck here. Trey Turner leading off. Bryce Harper batting second. Alec Bohm batting third. Kyle Schwarber fourth. Now, I look at that as Turner is obviously he's not the star anymore. This goes back to what we were saying earlier. Trey Turner, not the star anymore. Trey Turner is the guy that gets on base, that manufactures runs, that steals bases, wild pitches, extends plays from first to third. So, you want him on base. And Bryce Harper has every ability to bring him in, right? The same way he did at third and two, right? Same thing. When he was third and Turner was second. Same thing. Then you have Alec Bohm, the right-handed power bat, switching it up. Okay, so you go right, left, right, left. Okay, and then again, you're going to go right, left because you go Schwarber to clean up with the lefty, Casty with the right-handed at 5, which I think he's very comfortable at. Okay, and then Max Kepler, you go lefty, and then you stick to the left, right, and why not? You go Real Muto, then Stott, and then 9 is going to be who's starting in center field. Very, very simple. Not who's starting in center field. That's who 9 is going to be. It's going to be Brandon Marsh, which most likely it probably will be in the beginning. I think Sosa will get some reps in there. So I do think, that lineup right there for me, I don't see anything wrong with it, man. I don't. Yep, exactly. Sosa could be a starter on any other ball club. He really could, man. Like, that's the thing. Everybody says, too much do we look at players and we look at them on our club and say, there's no way he could be a starter. How can he be a starter? Look at the players that we have. I understand that. But like Tommy's saying, look at him from another club, at another perspective. If you put him on another club, right, that doesn't have all these high-priced stars, he's very, very easily a starter. And I would say 65 to 70% of the league, he's a starter. And I think that's important to talk about. That you have a gem there. Listen, I like Christian Arroyo, man. I think he's a gritty player. And listen, they'll make some moves, right? There'll be some guys that kind of fall off. That they have some assets that they can do at the trade deadline. Maybe this is a trade deadline year. I don't know, but I'm not concerned about this lineup. Listen, we should not be sitting. I'm going to say this again, and I said it last year. I said it the year before. I'm going to continue to say it. Okay, look at this lineup. Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, JT Realmuto. 5 guys. I don't care if you want to talk about Realmuto, maybe decline. Don't matter. 5 guys. More than 50% of your lineup, 60%, we'll say, of your lineup is $100 million players. Why the F are we worried about our lineup? If we're worried about our lineup, that means we're not going to win. Meaning, if we're worried about, Bryson Stott's got a hit. Okay. Yeah. But does that mean, is he going to be the reason we don't win the World Series? Alec Bohm's got to hit 30 home runs. It'd be nice, but is that going to be the reason why we don't win the World Series? Brandon Marsh? No. This team is going to roll with Trey, Bryce, Kyle, Nick, and JT. That's what this team's going to win with, those guys. Everything else you get, Max Kepler is a premium. Bryson Stott, another year of growth is a premium. Alec Bohm, another year of growth, a premium, right? You know, Brandon Marsh, Edmundo Sosa, whatever you get out of it, it's a premium. The other wins are coming from that rotation that goes 5 to 6 deep. So you have to look at this and you have to say to yourself, if we're gonna go into this season, honestly, I continue to say it. So this is why I think that, again, in my opinion, okay, it's not calling anybody out, not my opinion, it's just my opinion, is why Philly radio is so fabricated. Because it's very simple to understand that if we go on a rant about Bryson Stott, if we go on a rant about Alec Bohm, about how he hurts us and this and that, then guess what? Pack up the season. It's over. Because if we're going to rely on those guys to be the heartbeat of our team, to win us a championship, we don't deserve to be there. And we're never going to get there. Our $100 million guys have to be the guys that bring it home. It's very simple. Very, very, very simple. Okay? It's very simple. So that's the way I look at this. So I'm not worried about the lineup because I feel like those guys are going to produce. Tommy says he reminds me of Greg Dobbs, who can come in at any point and get you a hit or make a play in the field. Listen, Christian Arroyo, man, is a very, very, very good player. He you know, you always pick up those guys. You know, in spring training, you sign for those minor league deals, and you know, again, we've had so many of those guys, but here's a guy who, and I'm going to pull up his stats for you, because I want to show you, just because again, I just don't want to pop off, you know, off the top of my head. All right, so let me pull these up for you. His complete stats. Now, right now, in spring training, the guy's batting 353. He's already hit 2 home runs, not than 6. He's got 12 hits and 34 at bats. Okay. So he's been, listen, he's been good. But, you know, if you look at his career, he's a 252 hitter. Okay. Almost a 400 slug. On base percentage close to 700. But the one thing I like about Arroyo is he can play multiple positions, and he actually doesn't strike out a ton. You know, listen, the most at bats he had was in 2022. And again, plays with winners. You come from a winning culture in Boston, okay? And if you could come from a winning culture, a winning environment, you know, that kind of packed atmosphere of Fenway, you can win anywhere. He had 87 games, 280 at bats. He struck out 49 times, man. Like, that's it. Struck out 49 times. So, like, I really like 80 hits in 87 games. I'll take that. Gritty player. Okay. Very, very gritty player. You know, he's not going to give you a bunch of pop, right? I mean, he might hit, I don't know, 8, 10 home runs if he plays 100 games. But you're not expecting him to play 100 games. Maybe he spot start maybe about like 50. Right? Just like 50 games. He's that guy that can come in and, you know, he can play first base. I'm pretty sure he could play third base as well. If I'm not mistaken. You know, he's a guy that, again, he could play several different positions. You know, really, really good utility guy. Plays second base as well. So I think he can play third, but maybe at this time, I mean, listen, he's still under 30. He's 29, right? He's 29. I think he's a really good find, man. You find those guys, man. You find those guys. My man Japan checking in says Tony keeps it real. He's too real for Philly. They don't want me, man. They don't want. I'd be shocked. They don't want me. They don't want me at all. Tommy says Trey. Listen. Tommy, it's so funny. Let me just tell you something, Tommy. Me and you are on such the same page. You joined late, right? You joined after my rant on Trey Turner, and I said exactly that. I said, probably the first 5 minutes of the show, the first thing I said, and we're going on an hour right here, was I said, guess what? I don't think he cares. I think he's got the bag and he's good with it. Like, hey, I'm Trey. I'm good. I know what I can do. You know what? I'm solid. I'm a solid player. I don't need to be great. I don't, I know even on my worst day, I'm not going to be terrible. And I'm still on a key part of a team. So I'm with you, Tommy. I don't think he has that drive anymore, bro. I really don't. So I'm with you. That's why I say, like, put him up top, let him do his thing. He'll get you some hits, he'll manufacture some runs. And listen, he's still a very good player. He's not a top 20 player in Major League Baseball anymore. He's not. But when you have a guy up the top of the lineup that can, what's his career average, like 287, 289, 290. I mean, if you have a guy that can back close to 300, that can probably steal you 30 bases with the new, again, with the new system where you can't be in front of the bag, and no pickers are so stupid. They're ruining the game, in my opinion, with that when it comes to that. So, but yeah, they could definitely win. I said, Tommy, they can win in spite of Trey Turner. Right? I just think they could still win in spite of Trey Turner. But listen, man, man, baseball is my favorite. And just looking around Major League Baseball. All right, 296 is his career. Thank you, Tommy. I knew it was between 287 and 290 something. So he's actually higher than I thought, man. He's close to 300. So I mean, and I think some of his numbers are a little, elevated because he goes on these real hot streaks at a current time. And then he goes on these, it's like a free fall with him, man. It's like up and down, up and down, up and down. So, but listen, if he's going to continue at the top of that lineup and, he's going to produce and give you those opportunities, I think sky's the limit for this team, man. I really do. My man, see you checking in. What's up, see you? How's my man see you doing, man? It's been a long time, brother. Glad to see you doing well as always. One of the best voices in the game right there. My man, Mr. C Najad. Um, Listen, man, the Phillies, like I said, 94, 95 wins. I'm in. My man Carlos checking in. He says, Tony, salute. I hope that series versus the Mets last playoff doesn't continue at the start of the season where everybody's trying to hit a home run instead of just taking the best pitch available. Approach, 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 right, Carlos? I mean, that's the biggest thing. That's what we heard about, right? Approach, approach, approach. I'll tell you, it's going to be interesting, because there's been some very interesting comments that came out, with Brian Long. And I thought it was very interesting when at one time he was saying that he knows what they have to do, and in one token he's saying, but really can't change. They are who they are. So it's going to be interesting, and I think that's why maybe, and I'll end on this topic. And tell me if you're checking in right now. This is the Tony Cutillo Show live on YouTube, on X, on Facebook. Go make sure you like and subscribe. Oh man, listen, Tommy, you are beat me to the punch, brother. My God, I'm gonna have to have Tommy on as a guest, man, because he has beat me to the punch here. Because I was just gonna say, and I'm gonna say what I want to say first. I'm gonna read Tommy's comment just so you know it came in literally as I was about to give you my take on Rob Thompson. The one thing that's always scared me about Rob Thompson is I don't think he puts enough emphasis to the players when it comes to changing their mindset and trying to kind of switch things up. I think he pivots to the players respectfully, but too much. You still have to be a manager. You still have to make the tough decisions. And as much as they respect Rob, and as much as I respect Rob, I just don't think he has that get up in your ass kind of moments that these guys need. Listen, the younger players, I think are they're simple. getting their ass, the veterans getting their ass, but do you have the ability to when Bryce Harper says, I don't want to bat second and say, I don't give a shit, Bryce, you're batting second. Or Trey Turner says, I don't want to bat first. He says, I don't care, you're batting first. You don't like it, get out. Like, does he have a little Lou Brown from Major League in him? Does he have that inside of him? I don't think he does. And I just think that right now, with this team being basically in limbo for this year and next year, saying this is it. I have to hope that he's the guy because in my gut, I say I don't think Rob Thompson is the right guy. Now, I will say this: I also never thought Charlie Manuel was the right guy either, for the same reasons. Now, you can sit there and say that team just caught everything at one time, or it was because of the way Charlie Manuel managed that team. I don't know what it was. Okay. But I had the same issue with Charlie Manuel. I thought Charlie Manuel was too easy on his players. I thought Charlie Manuel, didn't have that drive to be all up in their ass when he needed to be. When you had those high personalities on that team, like a Jimmy Rollins, right? And a Chase Utley and a Jason Worth. I didn't know if he had that ability, to do that. So maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong again. Hopefully Topper proves me wrong. So here's a funny thing. This is what Tommy wrote before. He says, my personal hot take is I don't think Topper is the right manager because technically Joe Girardi never really left. I think he doesn't rely on analytics as much as Joe Girardi. Joe Girardi was very disappointing to me, Tommy. I was all hyped up about Girardi coming here. I thought he was going to give us that extra ability to be go out there with that swagger and man, you talk about a guy who came and just kind of shut down and didn't give a shit. I was the Joe Girardi era to me was highly disappointing. Highly disappointing, man. It was crazy. Tommy says the 07 to 12 team was a small ball team that had great leaders who knew what it took to win. 2011 still hurts with that. Oh my God. The 2011, Tommy, 2009 still kills me. I say it all the time, man. Like one of my favorite players ever is Pedro Martinez, and for Pedro to go revitalize his career in Philadelphia, go in with the Who's Your Daddy chance into a Game 4 environment, or Game 5, whatever game it was, in the Bronx, in New York, and pitch the way he did was unbelievable. I have nightmares of Johnny Damon and Hideki Matsui and Jorge Posada, like that. We should have never lost that series in 09. We should have been back-to-back champions. That one hurts me probably the most. My man Carlos says, I do like our starting pitching lineup, but we need that rotation to show up. We gave up too many games after the 6th inning after the All-Star break. Now, would you keep Schwarber at leadoff or Turner? No. Listen, Carlos, number one, I love the rotation. Number two, for you checking in, I am a huge proponent of the bullpen this year. I think that people are sleeping on Jordan Romano. I think Jordan Romano is a secret stud in the bullpen. I really do. I watched some of his all-star ability in Toronto between 2001 2023. Go back, look at some of the film, look at the numbers. This dude can pitch the lights out. And he has that closer mentality. I think Alvarado was driven. He never stopped throwing, never stopped training. He cut down about 10 pounds. He looks great. He's getting clocked at 101, 102, 101 mile an hour sinker. It's crazy, man. But looking at the actual lineup, Trey's got to be first to me, Carlos. I love Trey Turner as a leadoff guy, and I love Kyle Schwarber as the cleanup guy. I think they owe it to themselves to switch that lineup around for at least half a season to see it work. I just do. I think they owe it to themselves. I think they're so stuck in their ways, and I think a lot of that could be Topper. Just go out and play your game. Go out and play your game. Be you, right? We'll hit. Well, eventually, when the cold streak comes and you don't hit, it's a problem. And when you don't flip things around, it's too late. So I think they owe it to themselves to flip that around. Tommy says, when did you know the season was in trouble last year? You know, uh, I think trying to think of what series it was. The 2 game series. What was the series where we got smoked? Oh, I forget what series it was. After the All Star break, or right before or after the All Star break. I forget who it was. Might have been the Mets. Might have been the Mets. I think the Mets might have been again. They just they spanked us. They completely spanked us. And right there, I thought this season in trouble. And the reason why I said it was in trouble because I was saying the entire second half of the year, whether I was watching it with my family or watching it with my boys, yeah, it's the A's. That's right. It wasn't the Mets. It was the A's. Yes. When Oakland scored like 13, 14 runs, again they made like Lorenzo Butler look like an absolute stud. I mean, these dudes were on another level, man. Like they were on another level. And what happened for me is it was that drive, man. It was that drive. Um, I again, it was looking at, looking at the players that normally would say, okay, Bryce Harper, we're going to come back. Right. Like again, nobody gave me the sense that they thought this would turn around and they knew what it was. Right. No, nobody gave me that sense that it was going to work. And I think that was, the biggest issue I had, right? And that's when I knew, Tommy, that we were in trouble. Listen, man, you know, Lawrence Butler was out there, and I like Lawrence Butler, right? But we were making him look like the second coming, man, of Mookie Betts, and it's like the series after we swept the Yeah, it was like then they came and swept the Dodgers, but that wasn't the Dodgers weren't right, man, at that time. The Dodgers weren't right. So I didn't even look at that. Like I looked at that Oakland series that they got punched in the face. And usually when they get punched in the face or kicked in the head or slapped in the mouth, they always came around and you would hear them in the locker room. They knew what they had to do. They said all the right things. They understood. But this time I wasn't seeing it. That switch wasn't being flipped again, man. It was like I felt like they started to buy into the fact that it was happening again. They started to buy into the fact that holy shit, maybe we did start off too hot and now we can't get it back. They were starting to see ghosts, man. And I saw it and I was like, this ain't going to end well. And then you saw the Mets continue to rise and continue to ball. And I was like, man, we're in trouble. We were in trouble. So I did not have a good feeling last year. I did not. Carlos says, my uncle is best friends with the Astro scout. He comes to Philly whenever Houston plays. I've met a few guys from the team. That's pretty cool, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I tell you what, Carlos, to be a scout's probably got to be a cool job, man. You get to travel, see different players, kind of break them down. I would love to be a scout. I think that would be a really cool job. I do. I think that would be a really, really cool job to be a scout. That means you got the inside, man. You gotta let me know when he's coming, man. I'll go meet you down there, and maybe I can meet some players. I'm just kidding, man. It's all good, brother. I'm glad that you're getting those perks, man. Everybody needs some perks every now and then, man. Everybody needs some perks. But listen, again, let's end on this, man. The Philadelphia Phillies. This is make or break for them, man. This year and next year, in my opinion. I still think 94, 95 wins. I think they go to the World Series, and I do think they can win the World Series. I still think we can win the World Series this year. I still think, just like I say, again, defense wins championships, pitching wins championships in Major League Baseball. It does. And last year we had the starting pitching, but we didn't have the complete product because the bullpen was ass. Okay, the bullpen was ass. So I think we have the bullpen this year. I think we're even going to solidify that bullpen. I mean, just think about this. Think about if all these guys produce and you still bring up, they talked about a 6-man rotation with Andrew Painter. Remember that. They've talked about a 6-guy rotation with Andrew Painter. And if they said it enough, it means it's going to happen. Well, you only need in the playoffs 3 guys. So now you mean to tell me, you got more than 3. That bullpen is going to be that much friggin' stronger with these guys that are fresh. And when other teams are rolling out this, run of the mill mid-tier start, now you can actually, there's going to be no bullpen game. There'll be no bullpen. It's going to be a starter game for us. So I think that's why I'm extremely excited about this bullpen as we get closer to the postseries. But again, health remains the solid focus. And I will say this before we get out of here. One thing that I still think is in the back pocket for the Philadelphia Phillies is if Ranger Suarez starts off hot, if Ranger Suarez continues to pitch like he did before he went down, I think not only will he be on the trade block, but I think he will bring in a massive haul at the trade deadline, as assuming Jesus Luzardo pitches the way we think he should. Because I think that is a secret stash for the Phillies when you talk about the trade deadline. I'm not saying I don't have any sources on it, but again, he's a guy that has Scott Bars as an agent. He's a guy that is going to command a hefty number. The Phillies have already showed the unwillingness to pay in this offseason because they already have a lot of money locked up. They decide to go with Aaron Nola, and they decide to go with Zach Wheeler. They have Sanchez on a controllable deal. Luzardo still on a controllable deal. I'm just telling you that Ranger Suarez could very well be what gets them that extra piece that they need to take them over the top offensively if things aren't working out. Again, I don't know if that'll happen. I'm not sure. I just think that will definitely be a part of their equation going forward. But as always, man, I'm going to get out of here. We go hour and 12, hour and 15. This is the Tony Cutillo Show live. Again, man, I greatly appreciate everybody checking in. Everybody with all their fantastic comments. Tommy, JD, Carlos, JW, my man Japan. I mean, see, even checked in. Everybody checking in as always. If you're not on YouTube, get over to YouTube, like and subscribe. Again, there's a little bit of something for everybody, man. I'm not just Philly. We talk everything. When I do these lives, a lot of it is Philly centric, only because that is the topic right now. Even on a national level, the Phillies are national news. So again, we talk about them, but there's a lot of other topics that I like to break down as well. A lot of different shorts that I throw up there of content about the NFL, different free agent signings, different trades, different teams, different players. I got the top 3s coming. And here's the thing too, man. Shout out if you're not on social media. And you don't follow me on Instagram, if you don't follow me on Facebook or, for the Tony Cutillo Show, drop a comment in the threads. I'm going to be starting top 3s. Again, I talked about this before, but we're going to go a little even more deeper, right? Give me some very interesting top 3s to touch on. What kind of top 3s do you want to hear about? And not just saying who are the top 3 players in baseball now. Like, I'm talking deep, man. Like, what are who are the top 3 players you like to watch at second base in 1994? Or, who were the top 3 players that nobody's ever talked about? What are the top 3 food? Like, what are the top 3 songs that you bang out to every single day? Top 3s, man. I'm a big list guy. I love top 3s, and I don't like the just normal shit, right? Like, I like stuff off the wall. So if you want to hear something for a top 3, make sure you drop it in the comments. And again, it'll show up on a YouTube page and I can put it on my list. But as always, everybody, thanks for checking in. Everybody have a fantastic evening. I'm going to get out of here. Everybody, like always, stay safe, stay healthy, keep following the show on all levels, and following the shorts, man. I appreciate it. Everybody, go Phils, and welcome to the new season of Major League Baseball.